here, and today we're taking a look at Transform Elements Speedstar, which is their masterpiece take on G1 Mirage. If you're new to my channel, hello and welcome. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Okay, here we go. So in terms of accessories, we get a silver painted blaster, which is sculpted pretty nicely actually. It looks quite good. There are a couple of little sprue marks on my copy though. And the blaster pegs in a normal masterpiece tab into the palm, holds really securely and won't wobble free. Good stuff. So we get an additional head, and it's not immediately obvious why they would include a secondary head with basically the same expression. However, when you pick this guy up, you will notice that he is very long in the face. In particular, if you compare him to the G1 Toon, which I think I can try and bring in here, he just looks a little bit longer, and this is a little bit more show accurate. It's just shorter in the helmet and shorter in the face, but it's also got slightly bigger eyes as well. So I don't know if this is kind of included as kind of afterthought, a bit like with Op Leader where we got the additional face. Maybe they were anticipating complaints, who knows, but that's probably the least of what people are complaining about with this figure. You also get an additional face, a cheerful face to go only with this secondary head, so we can take a look at that as well. They've both got sprue marks under the chin actually. This one I had to kind of file off a bit, and the helmet's also got a blue splodge of paint across the top there. Not massively noticeable, but you do notice it when you pick up a figure, these little QC nickels, and there are a few across the whole figure actually. So the accessories are good actually. You get what you expect from Mirage, you get a little bit extra with the head, it's very awkward to swap over, and there's a couple of little QC issues, so I'm just going to knock a couple of points off for that. 8 out of 10. So starting with the head, it's on a ball and it's quite tight, but it has got a good range actually. You've got a really good look up, decent look down, and it will obviously swivel all the way around on that ball peg. For the shoulders, they're on a universal and will get you more than 90 degrees out to the side. They'll obviously swivel all the way around. Down at the elbows, you've got double elbow, hurrah, really good. You've got a bicep swivel. The wrists are on a swivel. You've got articulated index finger on its own, and then the other three are kind of fused together. They're all in that kind of claw-like stance, which isn't particularly great. I don't know if I can't remember seeing this before, but you've got a thumb on a screw. It's a little bit unsightly actually, so that swivels up on that. Down at the hips you've got a little bit of a swivel, not much due to the backpack, it kind of gets in the way. You can use the transformation joint in there to untab this to give them a kind of an unofficial ab crunch, and you could probably do a bit more swivel if you wanted to as well. Down at the legs you've got individual hip skirts at the front with a little bit of a side tab there and a little bit of a one at the back. The legs will come out all the way to the front on a soft tension. They will go all the way out to the side, and they will go a little bit back, but it is limited by this stuff here. The knees are really good. You've got 2 joints and will get you way more than 90 degrees, so that is very, very good. Down at the feet, you've got a really good ankle rocker. You've got a little bit of toe tilt back and forth. It's blocked a little bit by the wheel. And you've also got this at the back, which you can kind of use for stability. He's really stable, actually. I was intrigued to see how that would work out with the wheel being down there. Obviously, there is a comparison to do with MMC's version, but he is proper stable and just balances really, really well. So I'm quite impressed with that. You can see there, hurrah, really well balanced. So posability is good, it's not great, couple of issues, but yeah, 8 out of 10. So for me, I think this is bang on actually. If you look at the Sunbow chart, Mirage comes up just a little bit above the kind of pant line of Optimus, and I think they've hit that mark definitely. It looks fantastic, it looks great, they look really good together, and it scales perfectly. 10 out of 10. And just for fun, here he is next to MMC Sphinx, so you can kind of see how that looks. I'm going to do a full comparison of these two. It's really interesting actually. There are pluses and minuses for both figures actually, in my opinion. But anyway, there you go. So if we start with the paint, I think there are lots of places where it's not been applied particularly well. You've got numerous kind of bleeds between blue and the white. So this is white paint on blue plastic, and it really contrasts with the brilliant white plastic here. There are lots of chips, like they were just there right out of the box. Little bits right on the front of the chest there. So kind of QC issues that are noticeable straight away. I'm not sure actually if all of this is paint or if it's just a coating on the plastic. It's certainly very distinct from the obvious plastic pieces. So it's a strange one. It's got a strange feel to it actually. If I say shampoo bottle, you'll know what I mean. And it's not there. It's not quite that. But in places actually, it's on that spectrum. Actually, some of these joints on the inside, you know, you only notice it because you have to take it apart to do the hip fix. They are very soft in there. So it's not a really high grade stuff that they've used here. In terms of build, it's got well tensioned joints, they're okay, but there are a couple of places like this pin joint down on the knee here where I've noticed already it's started to feel a little bit loose, so we'll see how that holds up over time. QC issues, I mean, I had a missing engine block on mine, so that's not good, but the obvious one is the hip fix. I don't mind a bit of homebrew stuff if it's a known issue and you can kind of quickly do it yourself, but this is a bit much, to be honest. You know, for a quality kind of release to have to unscrew things and pull things apart and risk breaking things with soft plastic, I think that's a big no-no. That's not very good at all. The fact that it's not got any instructions kind of points to a rushed release. It's been rushed out for some reason, and some of the quality issues just suggest that as well. So a bit of a strange one this. It's a very, very mixed bag. If we bring in the G1 Toon animation, you can see he's a lot wider than the Toon kind of look. I don't mind that per se. I think he looks very good. I think he's kind of got the look of Mirage. I think the big thing for me is the head sculpt doesn't look right, it just doesn't fit. And, you know, this kind of points to what a difference a head sculpt makes in a character. I haven't been able to put on the alternate head. It's just too tight and it feels like it's going to snap the ball peg off. So I'm not going to risk that just yet. I'll come back to that one. I think the biggest thing for me is the colour. He's very light blue in hand compared to the Toon look. I know these look very similar on camera, but in your hand he is a lot lighter blue than he appears on screen. So it's good, but it's not quite there. It does look good on the shelf though, I have to say, and that is mainly down to the cleanliness of the figure because he is exceptionally clean, and particularly what they've done with the legs I think is brilliant. He looks good from all angles. He's got a bit of a bum backpack hanging over there, but that's a minor niggle I think for me. So overall, bit of a positive to end on there, but there are QC issues with this figure, no doubt. Final score, 5 out of 10. So I've already mentioned that this thing doesn't have instructions, and you know, on a personal level, I like to kind of do these without the guide anyway. I like to just see how it works and have a go kind of thing. Not everybody's like that. Not everybody's an idiot like me, because these are expensive things, aren't they? So you don't want to risk breaking them. And when you're doing clever, intricate things with the engineering and maneuvers of pieces, I think it's a risky maneuver shipping something like this without the instructions. And so I've done a step-by-step video. I've posted a back and forth, bot to alt and then alt back to bot. It's just my take on it. There is no official guide, but that's how I've kind of worked it out. So check that video out as well. So kind of cases in point are the shoulder missile. It's really clever how they've done this. They've incorporated it into the transformation. It's not a parts forming piece like the MMC, but it's a bit of a tricky maneuver getting it around here. You've got to do it in a certain way. With the shoulder joint, you can't move it past the wheel. You know, you run the risk of breaking it on the hinge there. Similarly down at the legs, very cleverly done. I really like the way that they've done these, but you know, there are a couple of maneuvers where you just got to be kind of careful where you move things and tab things. Critical points, they've got a couple of sliding hinges, 2 at the back here, and then there's a couple in here as well. I'm not a big fan of those because unless they're done really, really well, you're going to stress the plastic at some point along the way, potentially at any rate. So not a big fan of that. I've also got these which don't seem to tab in very well. They kind of, this one's a bit tighter than this one. This one's very flappy on this side. Not that I hold this upside down much in alt mode, but it is annoying that that I know that they're not securely stuck in there. So, oh, one thing to mention is the ab crunch joint, I'm going to call it. Just be careful when you're doing that, because it works and it's fine, but it doesn't feel, you need to be careful where you put the pressure. I guess that's what I want to say, because it just feels like something that might give if you're not careful. So watch that one. So overall, it's a well-designed transformation. There are some really clever masterpiece bits. There are also some kind of flaws, I think, in terms of the design. And you know, it's not really well executed in some places, but overall it is quite good. So 7 out of 10. So onto alt mode then, and at first glance this thing looks pretty respectable actually. I think it looks pretty good. It rolls like a champ, really well in fact, and it's got good heft to it. You've got nice detailed bits like the steering wheel and the engine block, even though I've got half missing, but it's there. Nice, you know, kind of reference there, Ford. I'm not sure they're allowed to do that, but they've done it anyway. They've also done Gitan, the original French cigarette brand that the G1 changed that to a C, didn't it, to kind of corrupt it and not directly reference cigarettes in a children's toy, but they've gone for it. Yeah, good on them. So it's got good points, not the reference to cigarettes, but the other bits I mentioned. Where I'm going to be critical of this is, again, its finish and its kind of quality, because if we go back to the letters actually, so you've got different spacing between the letters from panel to panel, and also slightly different height adjustment. It's more pronounced on this side. These are very spaced out, these aren't. It just looks kind of off. You've also got some of the paint issues, so like silver paint rub, it was just like that out of the box. You've got a thin kind of white because it's onto the blue plastic versus the brilliant white panel there. You've got different colorations here and here against this section to this section. Yeah, just a couple of off bits really, QC wise. If we bring in the G1 tune, you can see it's really quite faithful to the original animation model. I think that's pretty good actually. Like I said, there's a couple of differences with the, you know, to put these on and the black engine block. They could have left that off for me. I know they've probably done it to kind of break up the look of this. I would have preferred it off, but that's just a personal thing. Good that they've tried to put in a bit of detail. But yeah, it is pretty faithful actually. I think looking at it, this could probably be a little less gappy. That might be a bit picky. That might just be me though, because overall it's pretty good looking. So it's a good looking alt mode, but it's got a couple of issues, and it's mostly finish, and it's just kind of quality really that's a little bit lacking in places. So 7 out of 10. So there we have it. Adding it all together, he gets a final score of 7.5 out of 10. And this is a figure that looks good in terms of aesthetic and cleanup. I think the colour's a little bit off and the face sculpt is a bit off, but in general terms, if you want a G1 Tune Mirage, this will look great on the shelf. It's very posable as well, that helps. It's got a good transformation and it's got a good looking alt mode. Got a couple of issues with it, but overall those are kind of positive things, and in normal circumstances those are the kind of things that you want in a masterpiece collectible. But this has got a lot of issues. All of those QC niggles, the paint chips, the rubs, the smudges, the hip issue, the soft plastics, the little bit that's missing on the back of mine, the lack of instructions. This is a rushed release. It has not gone through a proper post-production process, and I don't think this was ready for the world yet. I think if they clean all of those things up, it'll be a cracking masterpiece transformer, but it's not there yet. In terms of recommendations, I can't recommend it in that sense. You know what you're getting if you buy it. You have to go out and get it, but I can't give a strong recommend on this at all. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching. Take care. Please subscribe, and bye for now.